After the murder charges were dropped against Jeffrey MacDonald, the crime scene stood boarded up, preserved in its entirety. As the Army pursued a quiet investigation, MacDonald left the service and moved west. He went to work as a hospital emergency room doctor in Long Beach, California. He lived in an exclusive beachfront condo, drove a Mercedes, and docked a cabin cruiser in the marina. 5 years passed. In 1974, the FBI made a detailed study of MacDonald's house and developed a scenario which purported to show how and why MacDonald had killed his family. Their theory was based on where each family member's blood type was found in the house. Colette's blood type was found in massive amounts in both the master bedroom and baby Kristen's room. Kimberly's blood was mainly in her bedroom, but there were several drops at the entrance to her parents' bedroom. Kristen's blood was limited to her own room. The FBI diagram shows Jeffrey MacDonald's blood was found only in the bathroom and the kitchen, not in the living room where he claims he was attacked. Army CID reports show that MacDonald's blood was in the hallway, but the FBI did not chart it. Prosecuting attorney James Blackburn has formed a vivid and elaborate hypothesis of the events of that night. He believes it might have begun with a simple argument about Kristen's bedwetting.
I've had it. I'm not going to have that child sleep in this bed one more night.
Keep it down. The kids are asleep.
Well, I need my sleep too, and I'm not going to sleep in a wet bed every night. Don't worry, I've already taken care of it.
Oh, you're such a tough guy. Let go.
I think he flew into a rage and he clubbed her with the piece of ash wood.
Jeffrey!
Blood from her blood type are found sprayed across the ceiling. Splinters from that club are found in the master bedroom. She does not die from the injuries to the club. While he is doing this, she screams out, "Jeff, Jeff, why are you doing this to me?" Kimberly, his oldest daughter, walks to the bedroom screaming, "Daddy." As she walks to the door of the bedroom, she is hit in the face with the club. Her blood type is found at the entrance to the door. You would not know whether she was alive or dead from looking at her without taking her pulse. She was still clinically alive. He picks her up. He takes her into her room. He clubs her again. Her blood type is found sprayed on the wall. He stabs her, he lays her in her bed, and he tucks her in. Colette has gotten up and gone in to protect her littlest daughter, Kristen.
No, Jeff, no!
Colette is clubbed again and again on Kristen's bed. The reason we know Colette was in Kristen's room is because her blood type is found massively in there. Colette is carried back into the master bedroom, is thrown on the floor. She is stabbed with an ice pick and she is stabbed with a knife. She dies from bleeding to death. Kristen, the littlest girl, is stabbed in excess of 30 times with an ice pick and a knife. And whoever killed her got a little bottle of chocolate milk and put it back in her mouth.
Blackburn theorizes that MacDonald spent 10 to 15 minutes making it look like intruders had been in the house. He then went into the bathroom.
A lot of blood is found in the bathroom sink. The question is, how did that blood in the bathroom sink get there? He said it's because there was a lot of blood around the house, and his hands were bloody, and perhaps he was washing them off. But the blood is not the blood of his family. The blood is that of his own self. It's type B blood. I believe that the blood got there when he self-inflicted his own injury to his right lung.
Based on your analysis of the physical evidence...
In mid-1974, federal prosecutors took the case against Jeffrey MacDonald to a grand jury in North Carolina. MacDonald was indicted for the murders of his wife and children.
These are known.
However, the case did not come to trial until 1979, 9 years after the killings. During the 4 years between indictment and trial, McDonald's chief defense attorney, Bernard Siegel, repeatedly tried to gain access to the evidence used to construct the prosecution's case.
The government blocked us in every way. They sat on the evidence for 9 years and fought all efforts for the defense to see it. Finally, with a few weeks to go before trial, I implored the judge in the name of fairness and decency to force the government to let us see it.
Gentlemen, the evidence.
But you've got to be kidding.
The judge granted Siegel's request. A 9-year accumulation of evidence had been boxed up and stored in a jail cell.
There's no way, Bernie. This could take months. It could take years to do this.
All right, Brian, you've got to work with us now. When can we schedule some time to come back?
I don't know. You can schedule one with the marshal there.
But this is ridiculous.
There's nothing I can do.
Siegel had only 2 weeks to examine thousands of exhibits, a task he knew was impossible.
We've got to develop some plan.
What are you doing now?
I hear Kimmy screaming, Daddy, Daddy.
Before the trial began, Siegel had Jeffrey McDonald put under hypnosis and videotaped the session.
I'll help you.
Just let it come out. That's fine.
I'll help you, Kimmy.
McDonald described in detail the 4 individuals who he says attacked him. One of those descriptions seemed to match that of a woman seen by an MP the night of the murders. Many believe the woman was a drug addict and police informant named Helena Stokely.
The evidence that we had was of 9 separate people under different circumstances, different places, and different times who had heard from her own mouth her words admitting involvement in the murders of the McDonald family.
The defense subpoenaed Stokely to testify, even though the CID had interviewed Stokely earlier and dismissed her as an unreliable, drug-addicted liar.
Step over to the witness stand, please, and put your left hand
McDonald's attorneys still hoped her account of what took place that night would clear their client. They would be disappointed.
I was not surprised that Helena Stokely
Do you remember
claimed on the witness
in the months
stand
following February
that she didn't remember where she was between midnight and 4 a.m. on the early morning hours of February the 17th. The reason I wasn't surprised is that in the one interview I had had with her before we put her on the stand, she kept saying that if she was given immunity from prosecution, she would tell what happened. But she was not offered immunity by the government. The government was not interested in hearing the truth, and they were certainly not interested in having the defense call a witness who could tell the whole story of how the murders were committed and how McDonald had been attacked.
Here we have a girl who has made statements, but...
In a precedent-setting ruling, Judge Franklin Dupree decided that the testimony from the other witnesses who had heard Stokely's confession would be hearsay.
Call your next witness.
The decision left the defense severely damaged. The prosecution continued to say there was no evidence of intruders and overwhelming evidence that McDonald's story was a lie.
Physical evidence in this case, of which over 1,100 pieces of evidence were introduced at the trial in 1979, clearly is contradictory to his story in almost every respect. McDonald tells his story that he was injured in the living room, that his pajama top was torn there, that he was stabbed repeatedly with an ice pick, a knife, hit with a club. But there are no threads from his pajama top found in the living room. There is no blood of his type there. And yet you find in the master bedroom over 40 to 50 blue threads which match the pajama top, indicating that the struggle and the tearing of the pajama top occurred in the master bedroom, not in the living room. How did that happen? How did those threads get from the living room, where he says the struggle occurred, to the master bedroom, where the struggle apparently did take place? The physical evidence demonstrates, I think, quite conclusively that McDonald is lying.
Well, what they did was they took my memory of that night, and then they searched very hard for any so-called forensic scientific fact from the crime scene that didn't fit my memory. And then if I couldn't explain their so-called forensic fact, they said, aha, you can't explain this, But if what you're telling us is true, you should be able to explain it, and since you can't, you must be guilty.
You could throw the whole shooting match away, except for 2 pieces of evidence.
In his summation, Blackburn emphasized 2 fibers from McDonald's pajama top that were found on the club used to kill Colette and Kimberly. According to the prosecution, the only explanation for those fibers was that Jeffrey McDonald was the killer. The jury was convinced. Jeffrey McDonald was convicted on 3 counts of murder. When we return, evidence the jury never heard, and the woman who may have held the key to the mystery, Alina Stokely.